Hello, this is Katie from Crafting Ruby Dreams, and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I usually talk about planners, goal setting, writing, publishing, and getting right with my finances. Today's been a little interesting. I slept in, which was good because you need to recognize what your body needs, and generally on weekends, my body needs a little extra rest. I'm shifting because I've got a foot issue that has not cleared up yet. And it was, I'm glad I slept in. I actually felt very rested when I woke up. But related to that, I just realized I don't have water. Anyway, sorry, because I'm so scattered this morning. But I got the live stream all set up and everything. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to take a shower, take care of some things. And then I was talking with some writer friends and I got sucked into pulling data from this last year. So that just was a lot. But you know what, in some ways, the data that you track as a published author, as a business owner, it allows you to see where you are likely going over the next year, as well as if you want to make changes to your business, where you can make the changes, as well as maybe where you should be making the changes. And I say that with take your should and shove it up your should hole t-shirt from MäksēLife. But if you, at the conference I was at, Romance Author Mastermind, last month, one of the authors who was presenting was talking about taking data from her business and using it to make decisions for moving forward in the next year. And one of the examples, not to use numbers, and I don't think I even remember the correct countries or anything, but she took a look at where her sales were. And for example, if you are selling in English and you are looking at other countries besides the United States, if you are in the United States like I am, where are your books selling? And maybe you need to direct some ad spending to those countries because you weren't expecting to be selling relative gangbusters in New Zealand, or maybe you're actually selling a lot of English language material in a place like the Netherlands. So it's just taking a look at the data and how you can make inferences about possible next steps for your business, as well as other things. So I've honestly been ignoring my business data for the last couple of years just because I wasn't as actively pursuing it because of the burnout. But I decided it's like, okay, in preparation for this coming year, start getting me in the habit of tracking these various things, metrics that I think will be useful for me to know and helpful in helping me make decisions going forward. I just decided to start, okay, I'd already started building out this spreadsheet, but I added more things and then actually put things in for this year. So it was an interesting exercise. I had some sales in Brazil that I was not expecting in Amazon Brazil. So it was just kind of like, oh, interesting. I don't know that what I am going to be publishing under the new name is actually going to be useful. I can't take this particular data necessarily and make decisions going forward with it, but it's good to know that at least under my old pen name, I have had sales in countries I was not expecting. So that's something just to kind of keep in mind. So, and part of that was because a group of my writer friends, we were talking about unexpected income sources, partially because this particular place needs to integrate that information into their front dashboard, but that's a whole other discussion. But it's like looking at your deeper data to understand what your business is and to make decisions. So part of that is I've got a lot of thoughts of what goals I want to set for this next year. So again, information that you can take from the past and use it to help make decisions for the future. So again, why we're working on the year-end reflections from in this particular booklet from MäksēLife. So again, you don't have to have this booklet. You can just have lists of these questions on your own, and you don't have to do these specific questions that they ask. But moving forward, because this is what I am doing, we've got up today is going to be, challenges and lessons. And I'm actually hoping I can also get into growth and gratitude, but we will see, because I'm going to go for about half an hour and then I really do have to get to cleaning in some errands. That was side note. Just, it was raining earlier. It's, as you can see, it's a bit sunny now, but it was raining earlier and I woke up and I was like, I'm not doing errands this morning because I'm not going out in that. So being flexible with your schedule and responding to your own self and your own needs. So, all right, challenges. The prompt question is, what challenges did I overcome this year? And honestly, the biggest and most recent one was COVID. I have lots of thoughts surrounding this whole situation that I don't really want to get into, because that would be a whole half-hour rant in and of itself. But I can still hear it in my voice. I can still feel it in my lungs. I know this is something that I'm not going to be fully over for a while. I would still rate myself in the 90 to 95% range of feeling better, but I can still hear it being there and the results of it, let's say. So until that's gone, I'm not putting myself at 100%, but I'm very, very happy to be not even a month out and feeling in the 90 to 95% range. And I also feel very lucky in that, because a podcast that I was listening to as I was getting ready for the day was it's What I Wish I Knew Then, with Jamie Albright and Sarah Rosette. And one of the questions that they were talking about right before I had to turn it off was, how do you deal with challenges and not let it derail your writing business? And I feel very lucky in that COVID hit it in almost the perfect time with regards to my plan for my business, in that I had kind of already planned to take 2 weeks off between the end of the first 2 weeks of November off, both to attend the conference as well as just kind of like rest and reset before diving into the edits. Now, I had to push off starting the edits and like kind of switch up the order in which I did the edits. But I'm still on track, as far as I can tell, to get this initial set of edits done by the end of the quarter. So if COVID had hit me a month earlier in October, I don't know what I would have been doing, because that was the last month of me finishing up the book and my push to get the book done. So in terms of momentum, kind of hit me at the perfect time. And so I am grateful that it wasn't a bigger challenge than it was. I got to really mentally just focus on resting and recuperating and not stressing myself out over it. So I'm thankful for that. And I'll put that in the gratitude in a moment. But what other challenges did I overcome this year? I would say some mindset around writing itself, because getting back into, can I actually write a book, was a huge one. Mindset around writing. And that was a big one. And the fact that I wrote 25,000 words on the first novel and then threw out all but 450 of those words was because I was just like, no, this is not right. This is not right. And then starting almost completely over again. So that pushed me back in terms of what I've been kind of hoping to do. But at the same time, I needed to go through that process. I needed to recognized that as a writer, I wasn't feeling comfortable with where that particular story was going, but I also needed to get through the process of finishing a book. So if that's what I needed to go through to get to finishing a book, then that's what I needed to go through. So that was definitely a challenge, and I got to the point where I finished writing a novel, and so that was a really good thing for me. What are other challenges? And it says, what challenges did I overcome? And frankly, there are some challenges that I don't think I overcame. Challenge, I would say mindset. Another thing, mindset around negotiating, at least with regards specifically to negotiating my rent and lease. I don't think that I've fully overcome that trigger point for me, but at the same time, I was able to get past it to actually do what I needed to do. So at least in that particular instance, I was able to get around it. Honestly, I know there were other challenges, but in a lot of ways, 2022 for me felt like a year where I had a lot of growth. So that list is probably going to be longer. So let's move on to lessons. And the questions are, what did I learn about myself? What am I most proud of this year? So I'm absolutely going to say, I learned my optimal. I'm just not a fast writer, and this is why I don't like handwriting. I learned my optimal drafting process, which is honestly, I was telling some people in the clubhouse room the other day when we were talking about this, is that I learned my optimal writing process. It only took me 25 years. Because I started writing 25 years ago, and it's taken me this long to figure it out. So, what other lessons did I learn about myself? Not even lessons, but it's like I learned I have ADHD. I learned I have ADHD. Oh, challenges, health challenges. I had a whole bunch of stuff. Health and healthcare. Even though getting health and healthcare was, I got it, but I just had a lot. Specifically in May, I had 1 week where I started off, a 1 week period where I started off with a diagnosis of sleep apnea. The next day, I had a diagnosis of gout in my ankle, and then exactly 1 week after the sleep apnea diagnosis, I had the ADHD diagnosis, and I had been previous month going through various visits in order to get the assessments needed for those diagnoses. So it was just, it was a lot. It was a lot. So I learned I have ADHD. What am I most proud of this year? Getting back to writing and rediscovering my love of writing, because I really do bring my love of. Thank you for dealing with me as I handwrite all of this. But this is the thing for me. If you're in burnout around any kind of profession, for me, it's been writing. I know I've been in burnout with regards to being a librarian as well. And I've come closer to leaving librarianship than leaving writing. I would say, for as bad as my burnout was the last few years around my writing, I think I've actually come closer to leaving librarianship than I have been to leaving writing in the past. It was not great. It was really not great, because with regards to burnout around a profession, is being able to see your future self in doing work within that profession. And when in this one particular instance with regards to librarianship, I could not see a path that I actually liked. I did eventually get my current job, which I love and is honestly the ideal job for me. And it was just kind of a very random, happened to see this on a job board and then got the job, which felt like the odds were against me, but I got the job. And so I'm very happy to be a librarian, but I can honestly tell you that if I hadn't gotten this job, I don't know that I would still be working in libraries. And I can also honestly tell you, because I've told this to many people, this is my last job in libraries. If I move to a different job before retirement, and I really, really would like to be able to retire from this job. Hold on, sorry, little runny nose. It will not be as a librarian. I would like to retire from this job. I would very much like to, because I'm happy in my job, but I can't see myself moving forward as a librarian to another position, just being frank. Whereas with writing, for as bad as I was in burnout and was having trouble seeing myself writing again, it wasn't because I didn't want to write again. I just was worried about my ability to write again. So this might be a challenge, mindset around writing, but it's figuring out if it's the want or the ability. And maybe sometimes it's like you may still want to be able to do something, but the ability to do it is just no longer there. And that's something I recommend talking to a therapist about if you ever find yourself in that position, because there's going to be, I think, a lot of stuff for you to work through with a trained professional. But yeah, so I'm very proud of myself for rediscovering my love of writing, because my ability to write, because it means a lot to me. It truly does. So, yeah, so just maybe heavier than I expected. So, but that's also kind of like what this process is for, to help you process the things that you've gone through over the course of the year. And again, if you find yourself hitting things that you're not expecting to hit, such as what I just talked about, you might want to reach out to a trained mental health care professional. I probably should actually find a therapist again, but that is a lesson. That is a lesson, is that I might need to start going back to therapy. Yeah, so I think that's where I'm at right now for this particular aspect is, yeah, I think I have a lot more to think about and process than what I particularly want to do in the course of a live stream. So, growth. So just moving on. And that's the other thing, is that you can always flip back as you're working on this process, is that if you find yourself at a point where you just need to take a break because there's too much bubbling up for you, that's fine. If you want to continue working on, just move on to something else and then go back to it, or just set that aside for a moment and just take a break and do something completely different. So don't force yourself to go through the process if it's hurting you rather than helping you, if that makes sense. So, all right, growth. How have I changed and how have I grown from a year ago? Oh, so many things. 2022 has been a year of growth for me. I just, in a realize, for as much as I talk about writing, that's because it's been such a core part of my development in re-engagement and re-excitement with life in general, because because I'm excited about this thing that I've been passionate about for so long. It has helped me be engaged and passionate about so many other areas of my life. Now, don't necessarily have the time to do all of this, but it's like I've been knitting more. I have been reading more. I haven't exactly been planning more and playing with the creative aspect of planning, but that carried me through to getting to this point with writing. So I'm still appreciating it, but I'm also, I need to shop my stash more in 2023. So I almost don't know how to write down what my growth is for 2022, just because it feels so fundamentally profound. And expressing those ideas, even if you're a writer and you traffic in words, it can be a lot to put down in any kind of cohesive manner in your and it's like, and I'm also not visually, so it's just like, I was thinking, you may be a visual person. It might be easier for you to express yourself through like collage or something like that, and pictures. So it's something you might want to consider rather than just writing. If it feels hard for you to do that, this is something you think you can do alternatives, such as what I just said. But what I'm gonna write down is that I feel like a completely reborn person with an perso. That is not an actual word. I feel like a completely reborn person with an excitement to engage with my passions and creative pursuits while valuing and honoring what has contributed to this, what's the word I want for this? Emergence of my next phase. Because honestly, that's kind of, I say this as somebody who was 45. Oh, here, Halima, this is so helpful. I know the end of the year reflections are going to help me, but I opened them up and got emotionally paralyzed. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for yours, Halima. I will absolutely say this. One of the reasons why I'm doing this like this is that it's holding me accountable to actually work through them to the degree that I can work through them in present. I don't know that I said this yesterday, but I honestly, I either said this here or in my Instagram stories, but I honestly believe that if I was not doing Vlogmas in this manner, where I am present live with all of you, either live or in replay, I don't know that I would actually be doing this work. I think I would probably be pushing it off. For as much as I value and know how useful for me that doing this work is, I don't know that I would be doing it just because it can be painful, even the good stuff. And because if you had good things happen, if you're not in a great place right now in this moment, that can be hard because you might be feeling like, why why couldn't I be feeling like this again now? Like right as of this moment, I'm still dealing with the effects of COVID. I am dealing with this feels so stupid, but I jacked up my foot on Wednesday by wearing a pair of shoes that I hadn't worn in like a year and a half. I probably should not have moved them with me to the current place. I had forgotten that they're not a great pair of shoes for me. And so I jacked up my foot, and my foot is it's still painful 3 days later, 2 days later. So I'm not feeling great. I have made improvements with my living situation because I let things go to shit with COVID, and they were already in a not great place in the first place. But I am dealing with a lot of clutter, more than I personally like. And so it's feeling like I have so much pressure to be doing other things rather than digging out the emotional happiness and stress and turmoil at points in dealing with this work. But I also know it's valuable for me. And so this is one that, like I said, main reason why I'm forcing myself to be present and to do this work. And I thank you all for sitting with me while I do it. So I appreciate that. So what I wrote for growth was, I'll say this so not like slowly as I'm handwriting it, but I feel like a completely reborn person with an excitement to engage with my passions and creative pursuits while valuing and honoring what has contributed to this emergence of my next phase. And so I truly believe that I am entering a new phase of life with I am 45. So it's a woman, a female person with a uterus who is mid 40s and dealing with the very likely changes if you haven't already gone through them for other reasons. So that's something I'm dealing with. But also just I feel like I have a better understanding of who I am and everything and what I want to do moving forward. It truly is a next phase. So you sharing, I think on your stories, decluttering, saying, do I want to move this? Yes. I keep asking myself that. It's helped me so much because that is another ADHD executive dysfunction. I am moving next year. I need to start now. Yes, I am planning on moving in exactly 1 year because my lease ends in almost 1 year because newly started this month. And so, yeah, I am already starting to work on the moving phase and trying to get stuff in order. So that is going to be a big part of how I set my goals for next year. So I have a list of things that I know are big that will be happening in 2023. And yeah, so let me talk about that for a little bit. And since I did work through challenges, lessons, and growth, at least a little bit, when you're looking forward to however you goal plan, whether it's the next calendar year, next academic year, next quarter, next 6 months, whatever works best for you, you need to take into account big things that are going to be happening and that are going to be sucking up a lot of your energy. So I know for me personally, I'm moving, and moving takes up a huge amount of energy. Like I even put moving into my planning document for my writing publication plan, just so I can have that in mind. Like December is a hard date. I am hoping publication wise to publish a book in June and a book in October. So with it being December, it's actually an okay time. It's not a great time because moving is never a great time for me, but it's an okay time. So I can plan my tasks around what I'm going to have to be doing in definitely the month prior to moving and finalizing a lot of stuff, but also throughout the course of the year so that I can maybe minimize some of the work I need to do. Not necessarily packing, that's probably still going to be the last month, but if I can cut down on what I own in my life as a way to help myself, future self, that is something you can do. Another thing that I am planning on doing, like I said, publishing. That's going to also take a lot of energy. So those are the two probably big things for me in 2023 that are going to suck up most of my energy, which means that when I set goals for other areas of my life using the MäksēLife system, I'm not going to shoot so high with like, let's say personal. I'm not going to like say my goal is to read 100 books in a year. I might still read 100 books in a year. I never discount myself with that, but I'm not going to put that as a hard goal because I want to recognize that putting that as a hard goal might push me in a way that's not going to be helpful. Reading, I'm probably going to be doing it anyway, as it's one of my biggest forms of self-care. But at the same time, I just know that that's not where my energy is going to be. I'm not going to say best spent, but that's not where I want to direct the majority of my energy. Same with doing things like fun and recreation. There's absolutely a self-care aspect of fun and recreation and making sure that the well is not consistently totally refilled, but at a level that is sustainable. So I will definitely try to like make times for small things or relatively small things. Like I'm doing Go Wild next year. And so that's going to be a bit of a big thing, but it's only going to be like for a blip in time. Whereas there is a vacation I would like to take next year, but that requires more planning because it's travel, is doing something I've never done before. And best timing wise, in terms of pricing, as well as some other things, it's right around the same time as the move. And it's just kind of like, is this something I'm actually going to have the money for and the time for in terms of leave time and everything? I might still do it, but I'm also putting a pin in it in that I know that I can probably get still a good deal 60 to 90 days out. And I'm going to have a better idea as to where I'm at, both with regards to the move and how much work is going to be involved, as well as how much money I have coming in from the writing. So that's going to be, I'm leaving. I have a plan for it that is fun planning. And honestly, sometimes doing things like planning vacations that you know you're not going to take and just doing the planning can be fun and researching. So I'm going to have something of a plan in place. But I am also saying I'm not deciding about this until October. And I probably have even until November to finalize things for it. So it's something that I can have basically as a reward for myself and a time for chilling out and resting and relaxing after the emotional heavyweight of moving. So those are just some future things to think about as you are thinking about what you might want your goals to be for 2023, things you should be considering. So I'm going to be back tomorrow, probably right around 2 p.m. Eastern, and going to continue working forward. I still have gratitude, what's working, what's not working, impact adjustments, and reflections, as well as a letter to me. So a letter to me, I'll probably just do on my own because I don't want to have to write this and slowly talk it out with you guys. So, but these are things that I'll be working towards. And thank you all so much for joining me. And if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments. I am finding this useful. I hope you are finding this useful. And as you move forward, may all your dreams be Ruby dreams. Bye-bye. And broadcast.